Welcome back, dear viewers. Our first guest of the evening is Atyab Alshatti, the lawyer that we used to meet her every month. It was every Monday, right?
It was every Monday.
Yeah. Welcome back to the show, Atyab Alshatti. It's really nice to meet you again. And we hope we know, or not we hope, I'm sure that we have an amazing subject to discuss tonight on Hala Kuwait. So please welcome again, dear viewers, to the lawyer Atyab Alshatti.
Thank you for having me again in the studio. Actually, I was very excited to join you today.
It's our
as
pleasure.
You have already informed the viewers about the 8th of March, the upcoming 8th of March, the International Women's Day. And since myself, I've been active in the past couple of years in the field of activism and women's rights advocacy, then it is very essential to tackle this subject basically in our segment today.
Yeah. So speaking about the Women's Day and speaking about March, when it's the upcoming events that's related to this subject, Atyab, tell us, what are the main challenges women face in Kuwait?
Yeah, so when it comes to the legal challenges, a lot of legal challenges that women are facing, and unfortunately, instead of these challenges, or let's say these legal channels become an actual challenge in which women can reach out to their rights, they become a sort of a barrier between women and their eligibility to obtain a certain right. So one of the main aspects that we've been tackling in the past years is women political rights, women rights to pass on their nationality to their kids, and citizenship rights, the housing rights, like her eligibility to have a house by the government, her custodianship over children and other family members. Also, when it comes to the criminal law, we have law of the disabled, and finally education.
Definitely. Let's talk now about politics a little bit. Do you think women are empowered politically? And if yes or no, of course, you're going to answer. You give us an answer about this, Ms. Atyab. But if there is any conflicts when it comes to the empowerment of women politically, what are the required remedies, please?
All right. So when it comes to women empowerment in politics, see, we are tackling something that it is a subject indeed about politics, but we are talking about, let's say, enhancing women and their ability to contribute within politics. And basically the subject, it's not a politics subject, but it is about women's rights to be able to join this field. And in Kuwait, women been able to obtain their political rights back in 2005, which is, it is not too late comparing to other, let's say, countries who granted women with their political rights. So back in 2005, law number 17 for the year 2005 obtained the eligibility for women to vote and to run for elections, basically for the parliament. And since that day, women have been joining the political lives. So back in 2005, we had 4 parliamentarians, one of them the famous Dr. Ma'souma al-Mubarak.
Definitely.
Back in that day, when we had 4 women in the parliament, we have seen and witnessed great changes when it comes to housing laws and equalizing women, and let's say elaborating on gender equality when it comes to housing rights. So previously, before that parliament, as you know, whoever a Kuwaiti gets married to another Kuwaiti person gets to have a housing. Right. Women were not able to obtain this right if they were divorced. There was no other substitute. If they were not married at all. So later on, these laws have been in effect and have been, let's say, passed by the parliament due to the great effort of these 4 parliamentarians and the other parliamentarians who came after. In 2007, Nouriya Sabih was the first woman who ran for the Ministry of Education as a minister.
Wonderful.
So actually, Ma'souma al-Mubarak was a parliamentarian, and she was actually the minister, She was actually a minister too at that time. And then in 2008, we had Moudou al-Hmoud as the first minister, female minister for housing, the Ministry of Housing. So basically, when we go back to these incidents and we see the great movement of women and women's rights in the political field, we feel the achievement and the change that is impacting the country. But lately, it isn't that rosy, or let's say it isn't that optimistic. So unfortunately, in the last parliament, we have no representation for women. So as you have noticed and witnessed, that 50 male parliamentarians are there and no any participation of women. And this can go back to lots of root causes. Basically, I would call for two main causes. One is the role of the government to enhance women participation. I mean, since we live in a very conservative community, we see that there is restrictions to women contribution with the political system, and therefore we don't see many voters vote to women, in spite of the fact that most voters are actually women themselves, but they did not vote for women too.
Unfortunately.
See, so there is a cultural barrier here into understanding women's rights, empowering women politically, and helping each other in a solidarity and let's say companionship. But unfortunately, this is not being implemented sufficiently, and women are not today in the parliament. So this is when it comes to the social sector. When I mentioned on the basis of the government, there are multi mechanisms that the government can use to empower women politically. One of these mechanisms is the quota system. It's a very well-known system in which there are certain chairs in the parliament that shall be only occupied by women. Such system is not being adopted in Kuwait, even though personally...
It's a great idea.
It is, but personally I can see that there are some gaps within the system itself. The quota system, because booking, or let's say reserving certain chairs for women does not necessarily reflect that women who are going to possess these chairs are qualified enough to represent other women and support women's rights. So basically, I can see that there is a gap within this system that I just mentioned, but at least it's one step towards women's rights and women empowerment politically. It's better than nothing, my opinion. And then, when it comes to the culture itself, and when it comes to the social society and civil society actors, civil society organizations, I see great support by NGOs in Kuwait who are specialized to empower women, such as Seroptimists, such as Abolish 153, and other women's society activists. But still, we don't see that it is supplying women with empowerment sufficiently. And as I have mentioned earlier, that the cultural barrier itself stands between women and their right, or let's say their ability to contain each other and help each other to be empowered politically. And therefore, I insist on the importance of having solidarity among civil society and empowering women within the, social part of it.
Definitely. With the women experience since 2005, either if it's about the pros or the cons of the experience, we're all proud of it. There's a lot of achievements.
Yes.
There's a lot of work also regarding this.
Has been done.
So hopefully, inshallah, by time, everything will be better and will be fixed. Thanks to you, people like you and other people who are directing the women empowerment at the society. Hopefully everything will be fixed by time and it will have also a better progress.
Well, we try, and myself personally, I trust civil society organizations and their sufficient knowledge to raise public awareness regarding women's rights, to gather women, contain and welcome women who are in need for solidarity and support.
Yeah, definitely. You mentioned the housing laws.
Yes.
Yeah, you mentioned the housing laws. With respect to the housing laws, Ms. Atyab, where do you see the legislative gap that causes the discrimination against women? Where is the gap exactly?
Okay, so basically it comes in more than one resolution and one law. As I have mentioned earlier, that Dr. Mahsouma al-Mubarak back in 2005 dedicated her effort to equalize men and women when it comes to housing rights. So as you know, men are supposed to obtain a loan with 100,000 Kuwaiti dinars for housing, while women obtain 70,000. The law itself did not mention this difference. In fact, the law equalized what women has to obtain to men. But we see the, let's say, executive resolutions to that law that discriminate against women. Moreover, women who did not get married at all do not have the same right. So why such discrimination?
Definitely. And we mentioned the housing law, and it's really an important factor, and it might be a sensitive subject sometimes. Like
it is.
Yeah,
it is.
it might be.
Well, when it comes to women, we have noticed another form of discrimination. Single women who wishes to, let's say, rent an apartment and stay in it solely, they find difficulties obtaining this, or let's say having a tenant basically accepting to rent the apartment for them. And when it comes to this sort of, let's say, act, there is no actual fundamental law, resolution, or any form of obligation, legal obligation, that obligates landlords not to rent the apartment for women, single women. So we can relate that to the cultural barriers again, instead of a legal barrier. So women, basically, who are single women, even divorced women, are not able to obtain housing through, let's say, a tenant agreement, if they want to go and rent something, a place, house, a villa, a small apartment. And so the landlord will refuse to have this agreement because of her marital status, which does not relate to any legal barrier. And this is why I'm relating this again to the cultural barrier.
Definitely. You mentioned a lot of great names at the women political movement, and most of them, or let's say when it comes to elections, either if it's men or women, the voters will go and seek their CVs, like they will see what is their degree, educational degree, do they have postgraduate degrees, are they graduated from any specific college, what type of major did they study, what type of courses they took. They check their CV. It's something essential. So when it comes to education, let's go to the educational system.
All right, since it's related to the CV.
Yeah. So when it comes to the educational system, what do you think about the educational system and women in Kuwait? Does it support women in Kuwait?
Well, the educational system, the curriculum, from my perspective as a women's rights activist, I think it needs and it requires urgent development when it tackles role of women in the society. Till today, we see that curriculums tackle women in a very small role in which she just do house duties. While, matter of fact, we see women out there join military, they are parliamentarians, ministers, ambassadors. So women basically are contributing in several areas, not only in the house. Our curriculums currently still deal with women as an individual who stays in the house, cook, wash, clean, and other, let's say, minor tasks. Women are more capable of doing wonders, and they are doing them out there, such as Mahal Baghli, Engineer Mahal Baghli, who is a member of the municipality board, such as a lot of women who are doing great changes, such as Sana Al-Ghamlas. So Sana Al-Ghamlas owns an initiative called Umniya. This initiative is related to recycling and, let's say, to advocate for the third generation of human rights, which is the right to have a safety and healthy environment. But we still see curriculums do not tackle these wonderful women. We need the curriculum to be developed.
Definitely. Speaking about the women's and how much wonders they can achieve, like mostly wonders is related to creativity, and creativity is related to being sensitive a little bit. And women, their nature, they are sensitive creatures, so they have like different psychological effects or different health effects or physical effects when it comes to their reaction to something that harms them. So do you think the health system in Kuwait covering the needs of women, or there's something we need to add about it?
Well, there are a lot of amendments that need to be added, but I'd like to quote what you just said, and I'd like to comment on it. So even though that you might think that women are sentimental or emotional creatures, yet they advocate and
Definitely.
they are wonderful creatures.
Definitely.
This emotions that we have, it's because women bring life.
Definitely.
Women bring passion. Unlike any other,
Exactly.
women are there, to bring life and to feed and to give support, emotional support. Women were made by God to create men, to support men in their first ages and to secure them emotionally. And this is why emotions are a form of power and not a form of sensitivity or, let's say, weakness. This is number one. Now, when it comes to the health sector for women, we still see also discrimination against women for women who are not married and looking to obtain health support when it comes to, let's say, their health system and so. So women who are not married, when they go to obtain medical help, if someone, like, let's say she has illness, she has pain in her womb and so, and she wants to ask for help, they will refuse. Most of the hospitals refuse to have her in unless otherwise she is married, which does not relate.
Definitely.
Basically, there is no resolution, nor law, nor ministerial decree, no any legal barrier, or let's say legal fundamental aspect that states women cannot obtain medical health if they are not married when it comes to their, to their reproductive system. But these acts are solely being taken according to a cultural aspect, I believe, because of this conservativity of women's reproductive system, which does not relate to the legal system itself. So this is a form of discrimination. Every woman has the right to obtain health support immediately, especially if it was ever related to a risk, it's risky that would cause her life.
Exactly.
But these acts have no legal grounds to it. And this is a form of discrimination. And we urge the government to adopt a new resolution that clarifies how the health system should tackle women's needs.
Definitely. Being lawyer Atyab Alshatti, first of all, thank you so much for being with us tonight on Hala Kuwait.
Thank you.
We are really proud of your achievement and also being a part of women empowerment in our lovely state of Kuwait society. And also, I don't feel like there is any fear of women, a person like you is around at the society.
That is so nice.
So thank you so much for protecting women's rights, and hope you enjoy your evening.
Thank you so much. This is too much for me. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's our pleasure. Dear viewers, we just had with us lawyer Atyab Alshatti, and now we will go to our second report of the evening. It's regarding National Day celebrations at Ishbilia Cooperation Society. Stay tuned.